Christine, thank you so much for joining us today. And like we were just chatting before we started recording, would you like to share with everyone today a little bit about what you do in your normal everyday job role and what your background might be?
Thank you, Peter. It's great to be here. Yep, I'm a pastoral care worker. Yep. So it's also called student welfare worker. I work one-on-one with kids or in small groups, and I work with kids that have emotional issues or social skill problems and friendship issues. So it's the perfect thing to use EFT in.
And you're in a school, Christine? Like, are you actually based within a school setting?
I work 2 days a week in a primary school.
Right.
And have been working in that role for quite a lot of years. So I've been in a school before with mainly Indigenous children.
Okay.
And now I'm in a different setting.
Oh, fantastic. So how do you use tapping, I guess, with your students or one-on-one or the groups that you run? How do you introduce it to them, and how's it been, I guess, received?
Okay. Well, with kids, it's really easy. They sort of just take it on board and it's no problem at all. Yeah. In the kids with the Indigenous kids, there was a lot of behavioural issues. They brought a lot of emotional baggage with them. So I was really keen to introduce EFT to the school, and I put it to the principal. Okay. But back then, there wasn't as much evidence available. And he said it has to be evidence-based. Yeah. So he wasn't all that keen for me to introduce it as a whole school thing. I thought for the teachers it would have been ideal too, because they were under a lot of stress as well. Yeah. But I could use it in my role. I just asked parents permission. Right. And they were more than happy. As soon as I mentioned that it helps kids to deal with their stress level or their anger issues and it can calm them down, I have never had a parent that would say, no, I don't want that for my kid.
As a parent myself, I can't imagine that you would say, no, I don't want that for my child. No,
that's it. And kids are really easy to teach with that, and they can see the difference so quickly. So they actually, I found they take it on board more than adults would. They remember to tap even outside of school.
I would agree.
And they tell me, oh yeah, no, I've used it for this when my brother annoyed me, or when something happened.
Oh, isn't that fabulous? I totally agree. I think it is easier, especially the younger ones, that they once they feel the effect of it, kind of go, yeah, okay, that works. I'm not going to question it. I don't need to know anything about the science, and they obviously keep doing it. So that's fantastic. And I guess at a employer level or management level, yes, where you are now, have they been more receptive or open to you using
it? With the research out now, like with the principal where I'm at now, he was very open to it. You got all that fantastic information all on one sheet, and I just emailed him with all the information that I had, with videos with other schools that use it, and gave him that information. And he said, yeah, bring it to the executive meeting. Right. We actually enrolled the executive members to your course.
Right, so they got to experience tapping in the classroom then and had a look at the...
They kind of have. They haven't finished the course yet. We haven't sort of managed to finish it together yet, because the time constraints and what the workload is on teachers, it's really hard.
Yeah, but I can imagine. Yeah.
They are keen, but
It is why we have made that kind of access, if anyone does sort of, do the tapping in the classroom training online, it's lifetime access, because we fully appreciate that, sometimes you might want to dip in, dip out and go back, review, but take your time to actually complete that. So that's fantastic that the school supported, I guess, other staff or executives.
So pleased with that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I guess if there's any teachers out there listening, or indeed, school psychologists, counsellors or pastoral care workers themselves, that may want to introduce this and want approval, obviously, from parents and their, executive and faculty, have you got any tips that they could take away from this that maybe would make it easier for them?
Well, like I said, the information that you've got, and that's all there, it's a really comprehensive thing for them. But to me, it's mainly, you've got to experience EFT to know what it's like. So to get them to do it is the perfect thing. So with kids, I have introduced it to classrooms, in a classroom setting. Mm-hmm. And what I found, tapping as a group in the class, is that the kids can see and hear actually what other kids feel like. And it makes them feel like, I'm not the only one. And what the beauty is that they can be in charge of their feelings and they can actually do something about it.
And so they're roughly under the age of 12, aren't they, Christine?
That's right.
Primary school. Yeah.
Yes, I've used it with Year 5 kids for the NAPLAN test, just before the NAPLAN test too. And I also gave them a survey to see how they found it. Okay. And the kids that were really anxious and worried about it, it helped them a lot. Like they came down quite a lot. But I explained it with the Danielle Siegel one with the flipping the lid, so that they could understand the effects of anxiety. So that made a lot of sense to them.
Yeah,
and then with the tapping, that sort of made a big difference to most of them too.
Oh, that's amazing. And I guess then school and parents get to see that outcome too, don't they? Because their child's calmer, or they get better results, or what it might be. Wow. Yeah. And any differences, I guess, with your experience, because you did mention working with Indigenous, youth and children in school settings. Is there any difference you think, or anything we should be aware of in working with those populations with the tapping technique?
It was interesting with the Indigenous children, or with kids in general. They haven't got the literacy, the emotional literacy yet. So with the Koori kids, there was one example. They went to a cross country, and they were really worried about how the other kids going to look at them, because they were in a minority. There was only a few of them Indigenous students, and they were competing to all the white kids. So what they say when they have to perform in front of other people, they call it shame. Right. Oh, shame. And you can see the look on their face, and they go like this. Okay. So I use that body language to tap on.
Okay, rather than
and I just
words.
And I just said, even though I feel the shame, and I would do that action with them, I'm still a great kid, and I can choose to do my best and run the best. And I was chosen to run for my school, and I sort of built them up like that, and it was fantastic. The difference when before we went to the cross country, that was their body language, and they were all very quiet and then afterwards it was standing tall, and they were really into it. And when they went to the starting line, it was amazing to see. One girl actually came back and said to me, I made a really good friend. So they were on the running track, and they actually were too busy chatting and talking. They weren't really worried about the competition. So she was very relaxed in that environment.
At least they were relaxed, like you said.
That's right.
Made a new friend. It was more important. Oh, that's fantastic. I think that's really important for us, isn't it, to take away, because, and even if some of our international, followers are watching this, that they may actually work with, minority populations as well, even in school settings, and just being aware of, even to use the body as the language instead of the traditional setup statements, can be really important and as effective.
And with kids, I use a lot with where they can feel it in the body. Has it got a colour, that feeling? What shape could it be? So they most kids relate to that.
Absolutely.
And what I found with some that have real anger issues, or they're in that really heightened state, there's no way you can tap with them.
Okay.
Or get them to tap. So what I do there is I just stand in the vicinity and I tap on myself, and I talk about them and their issue, what I think they feel. Right. And that really seems to work beautifully.
Yeah, and some of that mirror neurons
that's right.
Start to fire, don't they? So that way they're at least seeing you tap and getting some sort of, and then they might feel okay in joining in. So I've done the same.
Also they feel heard. They know that you understand. And that helps them calm down too. But that mirroring, totally, it's like you're tapping on them, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Christine, this has been gold, like, just to share this kind of information, I guess, from, what you do in that work setting, but certainly with different ages and ranges of students that you're seeing. Fantastic.
And staff.
And staff, yes.
And staff. There was a teacher that was really upset with, often when they have to deal with difficult parents or whatever. I saw one teacher in tears in the staff room. So I said, and they know what I do with the tapping. So I said, do you mind if I tap on you? And she was fine with that. So I actually physically tapped on her while she was talking through it. and she felt much better afterwards.
Isn't that amazing? And again, maybe more interested in learning to take it into their own classrooms when they've had that direct experience.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Christine, thank you so much for your time today. It's been fabulous, and I'm sure people will benefit from listening.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks.